Right. Okay. Let me share my screen here. Okay. I almost started speaking in French. Bienvenue. Welcome to everybody. Today, again, my name is Aziz. This is our Ubuntu TechHive edition for this Saturday. Today, we'll go over agents, or I would say multi-agents, but using the framework CrewAI. Many times we've gone through our presentation. Ben has presented a couple of times on agents. I can't remember if Kofi has presented on agents before, but we've done multitudes of presentations on agents. So I kind of wanted to use a platform or a framework called CrewAI because I've seen that it's kind of become popular online, and I wanted to kind of like give it a try, see how it works, and then also get a better understanding of actually, using agents. So, but before we get started, I mean, we kind of have to decide or describe or have a definition of what actually are agents. So, having done a little bit of Google research, agents are autonomous software entity that can perceive and act. They can make decisions to achieve specific goals and can work independently and collaborate. I would say one of the keyword here is autonomous, autonomous, and also make decisions to achieve specific goals. So the more we go through the talk today, that will become apparent, because for me, it took a minute for me to actually get an understanding of actually what agents were. In my mind, I thought there were just computer code, doing one thing, right? Which they are, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. And through the talk, we'll get to that point. Okay. So why are agents? Why is everybody talking about agents these days, right? Why are they so I guess powerful? I would say one of the key things here is that it can be specialized to do one thing. Like if you think about an agent as like one entity, it can do one thing really well. And also, as you put multiple agents together, they can be very useful in solving complex problems. And some of the use cases that I've seen agent use, and I'm sorry about this formatting here, customer service. A lot of people use agents for customer service. So by agent in customer service, we have to be careful because we're not talking about a live agent talking on the phone with you. That's not what, in this case, agents are. But mostly chatbots or virtual assistant that can help you solve specific problems, for a company, for example, like for tech support or, calling for like a complaint or something like that. Apparently it could be used also for drug development, and, finance, for fraud detection, manufacturing, retail, e-commerce. So what is CrewAI? This is picked up from their website directly. So CrewAI is a cutting-edge Python framework for orchestrating, role-playing, autonomous, again, AI agent. So they collaborate and they can work together to complete complex tasks. So you can think of it as like a soccer team, 11 players working together to achieve one goal, winning the game. So that's kind of like how I was starting to think about, especially as you start thinking about a crew, which would come down later as a crew, which is like a multitude of agents together working together. That's kind of like how I started to think about that, is them being able to work together to achieve a specific goal, an overarching goal. So CrewAI has, how do I say that, a few features that I would say are interesting. One feature is that you can have them be or play one specific role. For example, you can have an agent which does research. So it will do research on a specific topic. You can have an agent do strategy, for example, based on a specific topic. So again, going back to what I was talking about earlier, is you empower the agent to do one thing for you, right? So the research agent can do like research on something, right? But we'll, when we get to the demo, it will be more apparent. The agents also can make, as well, I'm talking about CrewAI agents can also make decisions. You know, they're empowered to solve problems, and again, work together as a team. You know. Any questions so far? Okay. So the core component, when again we're talking about CrewAI here, the core components of CrewAI, you know, is one component is the agent itself, right? So the agent has a role, specific goal. You provided a context, and then you provided a tool or capability. So again, when in the code here will, you know, as you can see here at the bottom, this is kind of like how you create an agent, for example, right? So you assign it a role. So the role here would be a healthcare facility researcher, okay? And you tell it, okay, your goal is to search and identify healthcare facilities in a specific zip code. And then you give it like a context, you know, specialize in discovery healthcare facility using Maps API. And these are other, and then you provided a tool, right? So Google Play search tool. So I'll give another example, okay? So it's like, let's say you are in, if you think of yourself, right? You are an agent to, let's say, book a trip, okay? So you are a someone working for a travel agency, and you are an agent to book a particular trip, okay? Then your role, again, you're a travel agency worker. Your goal is to book a trip, let's say from Minneapolis to Toronto, for example. Your backstory is that, you know, someone is wanting to go visit Toronto because it's a beautiful city, whatever. And then you are provided with some tools. Currently, if you are like as a person, if what are the tools that you use to book a flight, right, or book a trip? You can use Google. You can use how do I say that? You know, like the travel agency website, like Expedia. So you basically have like a set of tools that are provided to you. So you see right here, you could either have one tool or a set of or a set of tools. So for example, in the case of you could have one tool which is like the Google website. The other tool is the Expedia website, and another tool is actually calling the airlines itself to book. I know we don't do that these days anymore, but you know, in terms of this example, those could be tools that you have in your possession to achieve the task of booking a trip. So that's agent. So the other component for CrewAI is the concept of tasks. So the task actually works with the agent, and the task has a description, an expected output, and an agent assignment. So here, the same agent, so we built an agent right here, and then now we're going to build a task for that agent. So you're getting the task is search for healthcare facilities in the zip code. Your expected output is a JSON with facility details, and then you assign an agent to that task. So now if you use the example of the trip, the task is in a conceptual way, the task is to book a trip, right? And the expected output would be a confirmed booking, the confirmed ticket. And then the agent for that task is the the travel agent, if that makes sense. So are you seeing kind of like the how the concepts work together? The other component for CrewAI is the concept of crews. So crews are basically multiple agents. So it's a combination of agents that kind of works together to, like I said, to achieve a specific goal. And how do you build a crew? You build a crew this way, where you have agents, so a list of agents that will do a specific task or a workflow. So a search agent, data agent, strategy agent, and then assign, and then you have also tasks in this way. And how these agents and tasks work together is you have to provide it this variable here. So here means this agent works first, then when it's done, it pass on the information to this agent, and then this agent finishes and then pass information to this agent. So it's sequential. So that's how you set it up here. We'll get to, I'm going fast, but the reason I'm going fast, we'll get into, we'll go back to the website and then we'll see exactly how it works. And then when we get into the demo, it'll be more apparent. So as I mentioned, process is sequential. Some of the other types of process that you have could be in parallel. So for example, you can have an agent who's maybe doing one task, but it's not dependent on someone else's task. So you can kick off another agent to do something else. So then they'll work in parallel. So you could do that as well. You can have some communication flow. So agents can send themselves messages. They can pass data from one agent to the other. I think that is actually a neat feature that you will see soon. And they can do work in parallel. There's also this right here, error handling and recovery, is a very interesting feature. I think when we see it in demo, it'll make more sense. All right, so I went fast. The reason I went fast is because I wanted to get into the demo and kind of like go through how all of these kind of work together. All right, so I had the choice of kind of like looking at CrewAI, which we can go to the website right now and take a look. So this is their website, and they say they're the leading multi-agent platform. A lot of companies are kind of using them. I wanted to go into where the code actually is. Actually, I have it here. Give me a minute. So again, like I said, I picked up the definition here. So this is kind of like a mind map of like what CrewAI thinks of themselves, I would say. So basically, you have agents here, a multitude of agents. They have tools, and then with the tools, they complete a set of tasks, and then they do that in a sort of in a loop. And then at the end, the goal again is to be able to complete an overarching goal that you set up and you provide it to the agent. As I mentioned, we have the concepts here like agents. Again, autonomous unit programmed to perform tasks, make decisions, communicate with each other. And then we have the tasks as well. And then these are kind of like the parameters that a task would take. And then we have crews, which has like a combination of agents that work together to do complete a task. So again, we saw this, right? Research agent, writer agent, and then you create a crew out of that. And one thing that I failed to mention is actually flow. So flow is a way for you to orchestrate how crews work together. I think we talked, when I was saying something along the lines of like, having parallel execution or having sequential execution. There's a framework or library that you can use called Flow that you use to basically manage how the crews work together. So, for example, if we take this flow right here, right, you have this function here, which is generate city, is decorated by this here called start. What this means is that the first step is to generate the city. So that's the first function that it's called in the workflow. And when that's done, and it returns a random city, you have this function here called generate fun fact, and it listens to generate city function, which is at the top here. So what this means is that the generate fun fact has to wait until this function is done, and once it gets the data from the first function, then it's able to now do its work, basically calling OpenAI and providing prompting it to provide a fun fact about that city. So the listen here, decorating this function, says, hey, listen to this function and wait until the execution is done before you start. And that's kind of like how you kick off a flow. You also have the opportunity or the option to provide LLMs to your agents, and it'll use the LLM to try to solve a particular task. So I'll kind of pause right here before I go back to the use case. Any questions? Anybody has ever used CrewAI before? Not CrewAI, CrewAI before?
Yeah, briefly, I just tried a couple of things, but I have I don't know if it's a question or more like a comment.
Mm-hmm.
So we have agents, right? Agents work as part of a team called Crew in this library.
Mm-hmm.
And multiple crews work together. I forgot the term you used to orchestrate multiple crews together.
Flow.
Flow. Okay, yeah. So it's from that perspective. Isn't it similar to what project managers do in technical teams, right? Because we have low-level managers that manage a single team, and then you have the overarching manager like looking at everything and orchestrating the work. Because sometimes I remember there might be dependencies within the team itself or across teams. Like with the PM asking, how come this one is not done yet? Oh, it's because the other team is still working on it, or because the other guy hasn't completed his task. Right? Isn't there some similarities in what you are describing?
100%. Yep. I agree with that. Then as a project manager, you know the sequence. As a good project manager, you know the sequence of like how an output from a particular project is going to work as an input for another one, right? And you have to plan it and provide updates and all that stuff, right? Figure out timeline, and to basically land the project on time. Yes, so it's very similar. I totally agree.
So can we speculate then that this such a tool like CrewAI or similar could be of good use for actual project managers to get rid of those developers that overcomply?
I think I heard somewhere, I don't know where did I see, I can't remember. It was a headline literally a couple of days ago, where agents, here, I think I remember. Agents are gonna be used by LinkedIn to do recruiting. So the agent, so basically like when you're going to apply for a job now online, on LinkedIn, it's not a recruiter that you're gonna be talking to like at first. It's probably gonna be like an agent, So maybe I don't know.
I'm asking questions in this direction because there's something that I personally find awful that happened this week in my team. One of the PM guys who was a bit technical, somehow managed to create a bot that runs on Slack. And this bot's purpose is to check the attendance of people for meetings. And then the funny thing is, people were just like ignoring the bot. And now the guy is sending emails to have people respond to the bot, just so that the bot can report to him. Like,
Yeah. I know. I don't know how that's gonna play out, to be honest, but I know that a lot of companies definitely are using some sort of agent to do some things. Now, what's the adoption rate? Is it just to try out? Is it like for a little bit? Is it for as a trial to see if they can fully replace someone? Maybe. But companies are also being pressured by consultants to go through, oh, you need to use generative AI, you need to do this, you need to do that. So they want to try, right, and see. But yeah, for sure. Any other comments? Quiet group. All right. So then when I kind of dabble into CrewAI, I wanted to see, okay, what can I do? What kind of project can I work on? And that would be a bit of business value. So again, business value, and also learn CrewAI. Okay. So then I was thinking, okay, I have this use case that is actually close to me, where we have an home care agency. So for those who don't know what home care is a like it's in healthcare, where we send caregivers or people, or we how do I say that, we hire caregivers and send them to people's home to provide care. So an home care agency basically has to, one, find caregivers, but also find clients. You can find clients in a couple of ways. You can find clients by doing paid ads. So basically someone doing a search online, hey, I need home care for my mom. Then, that funnel would essentially come to you via a company that we call, for example, Asian Care or caring.com. So those are big companies that send referrals to people. And the referrals are very expensive. Each referral they send you is $50. But they don't just send you the referral, they send it to everybody who's connected to them. So you don't know how many people are getting that referral. So everybody fights for those referrals, right? So for example, if you are let's say 15 companies are registered for one zip code to receive a referral from them, all 15 companies are going to get that referral. Asian Care gets $50 times 15, and because everybody has to pay the $50 to get that referral. And now the agency have to fight to call the client and be like, hey, I heard you were looking for this, can we meet, blah, blah, blah. So that's one way. It's paid ads. The other way is through local networking. Local networking meaning you go into places like nursing home, assisted living facilities, hospice care centers, home health agencies, medical centers, and hospitals. All of these places have your target clientele. So they all have seniors or people who eventually would need your help. So hospice care is when you are end of life. Let's say you're sick and then you're end of life, you put into hospice. Hospice means people are now know that you're gonna pass away. They don't know when, but you're gonna pass away, and you're getting help at home with like bathing, showering. They cook you a meal, those kind of things. Home health is similar as well. We all know what hospitals are. Assisted livings are like places where older people live. Nursing homes is a little bit more hands-on. So people live here when they need more help, more skilled nursing help. So all of these eventually can refer you to the home agencies. They can refer to the home care agencies clients. Why? So a nursing home, for example, has can have client that eventually they can get discharged and they will have to go home, but the social worker at the nursing home has an order that says that client cannot go home without help at home. Help at home means they need a caregiver, right? So they're now okay. They're like thinking, oh, we need a caregiver for Mr. Jones. Do we know any agencies that can help? And that is kind of like that referral right there. So if someone has relationship with that nursing home, you have a salesperson who has a relationship with that nursing home, then the nursing home is gonna remember, oh, and then send that referral to the home care agency. So I don't know if you see what what the problem statement is here. So as a new home care agency, you want to start building a relationship with all of these places, basically, right? And how do you do that? How do you build relationship with these places? You have to find them. That's the first thing. So based on the zip code, you have to search nursing homes in like 55118, assisted living in 55118, hospice care in 55118, and then that's the first step. And then you have to start going there, like kind of like cold calling, walking in, introducing yourself, saying hi, hey, my name is this, I run a home care agency, just want to partner up, blah 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 blah. But as you can see, this is very tedious. You have to, search each term and then each zip code, and then it takes a lot of time. And you also want to have a strategy, right? Hey, how am I going to approach these places? How should I do that? You can ask an AI for that, and the AI can give you a recommendation. So, can this process be automated? That's the question that I have. Is it possible to automate this whole workflow? So that's what I tried. So I tried it with agents and tried to see if I can automate this whole full workflow. So I have 4 agents, so like a search agent, which basically uses a zip code and a term. So when you go online and Google and you say, hey, nursing home in 55118, that's the search agent. Then when you receive the data from Google Maps API, you have to parse that data, right? So that is the second agent that does that. Then I have a third agent who kind of categorize that data based on certain criteria. And then finally, I have another agent who uses that final data and then asks OpenAI, hey, can you give me a recommendation, a networking strategy based on this, this, and that. So that is the problem statement that we're going to go through. Any clarification questions, any comments, anything you want me to kind of clarify? Quiet bunch. Okay. Nothing? All right. So let me pull up the code. Can you see the code?
No, I think you stop sharing.
Oh. Okay. My button my sharing buttons is grayed out now. That's weird.
So in the meantime, let me ask you a question. So how would you describe the difference between an agent and a chatbot?
An agent and a what?
Like a bot.
They could be synonymous. Like an agent could be an actual bot, or a bot could have multiple agents behind it.
Okay.
Yeah. So a bot could be one agent doing just one thing, or the bot could be multiple agents that are working together to be a bot.
Okay. So in order to be an agent, it has to be like a one specific task. That's what makes it an agent.
What makes it an agent? Yes, it's doing one task. Yes. But in the case of CrewAI, it has to be able to think for itself. It has to be able to knowing the context, knowing what it needs to do for that task. If it uses the tool and it's not able to use the tool and figure out what it needs to do, it has to be able to figure it out on its own, find other ways to do it, if that makes sense. So the autonomous part comes in here to solve that problem. So that's what I was gonna get at, but yeah, you see, yeah. My sharing button disappeared. I don't know what is going on. Give me a minute. I'm gonna refresh my page. I may leave and come back. I'll be back. Yeah. Okay, I'm back. Share this. It's still not sharing?
Nope.
I'm having some trouble.
Maybe you want to switch browsers, maybe?
1 second. I'm gonna try again. How about now?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Close call. All right. So I have it set up in three steps. And you'll know at the end why I kind of separated it into 3 steps. So our step 0, we have the agents right here. So it's a search agent, a data extraction agent, a categorization agent, and a strategy agent. So when we look at the search agent, basically what I want you to get to is so we have the agent right here, and then we're, I guess, designing the providing the variables. So as I mentioned, healthcare facility, search and retrieve healthcare facility from Google Place API, and then you provide a backstory. Okay. So we create the agent here, and then we have to execute the actual search. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this. We're actually using Google Map API to do the search. So Google Map has like a way to, so when you query something on Google, right, like let's say nursing home in 55118, you can do the same by using the API. So this, again, as I mentioned, this piece right here is calling the API to get that. We have the data extraction API as well. Not API, agent as well. But the thing here, when we get the JSON back from Google, I'm just kind of like going through it and then grabbing that data. So you have things like the name of the business, the address, the ratings, the type of business it is, and also the URL of the business all right here. So name, address, type, and then status. The URL, I have it in another section, but yeah. So you can also get the status of the business. All right, and then we also have a categorization agent. So categorization, meaning you can categorize them by primary care, hospitals, specialty care, emergency care, and long-term care. So this is where we have like the nursing home, rehabilitation, skilled nursing, and assisted living. And what I'm doing is basically, if what's coming from Google says nursing home, I kind of like categorize it as long-term care, specialists, cardiologist, specialty, hospital, general hospital, and so on and so forth. So I categorize it like that way. And then after that, we finally have a strategy agent, which create kind of like, I would say, it's here. This is actually a hard-coded strategy that it does, and you will see that why the step 0 is doing a hard-coded one. when we go to the step 1 and step 2. So basically, again, you can chain agents this way. That's the basic way of doing agent, right? Where you have these 4 agents. Don't worry about this. I mean, the utilities are just like ways to validate and the data and all that stuff. So that's not. Yeah, Afis, go ahead.
When do you know if you need an agent or not? Because from your example, right, I can see that you have, was it 4 different agents, but 3 of the tasks that they do, or I would say 2 of the tasks that they do, could actually be handled by 1 agent. When do you know? Is it like based on task? Is it based on requirements? Like, when do you know if you need an agent or not?
So I think this is more. This is more of if you can think of it as like how you design applications, right? So you could, yes, it's the same as when you design a function. You can have a function that would do an API call and do the parsing of the data in the same function, right? That's doable. But then it's not modular, right? What if like you have an issue with the API call, debugging becomes a little bit more difficult, so the best practice would be to separate out, one does the function call and you have another function who does the data cleansing with data extraction, right? So if agent, you can think about it in a similar fashion where you want to have the agent do one specific things, mostly because when you start having it, because you have to provide it you have to tell it, you have to give it a task, right? And the task, if the task become too complicated or there's too many steps in it, then the quality of the output would suffer, if that makes sense, right? So usually what I've seen is that they try to have the agent just kind of do one thing at a time, so that say something happened on that step, the agent is able to, on its own, figure out how to go about solving that particular issue, because it's just one issue. It's easier it would be a little easier that way, as opposed to if who was like trying to solve 2 or 3 issues at the same time. And I think it's the same thing as humans, right? It's easier for us to solve one problem than to solve multiple problems at the same time, So that's one way to think about it.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So to again, as you can see here, this is all kind of hard-coded strategy, and I'm not going through the code because I wanted to kind of understand what we're doing in terms of the steps, right? Again, we have the strategy, who calls Google API and gets the data. When the data comes, it passes it on to the data extraction agent. When that's done, it passes it on to the categorization agent, and then finally the strategy agent finishes the work, right? But again, we are using CrewAI agents. We are, however, you can see that it sounds, or it seems like it's very, you could almost not have needed CrewAI here, because it's just functions doing their work, right? It's one function calling another function, or another function, so on and so forth, right? So when I was working on this, I was still asking myself, like, what actually does CrewAI do? Like, I still didn't understand what was the concept of agent if, nothing here that I'm doing is as, how do I say, like, interesting, right? So, but we'll get to that answer in 1 second. But let's run this first. So, so in step 0, so I have a test file that I'm sending data to that the to the main file, and then it's gonna basically create that. See, so what it did is search hospitals in 55118. It found 20 places. Maybe I should increase the font here. Is it better?
Much better.
Okay. So it found 20 places. Then it categorizes the facilities. So it found 20 facilities categorized into 3 types. And then, so the reason why it's 13 zip codes is this is a little bit of a, even though I provided with 1 zip code, you would think that Google, you're able to just search something by 1 zip code, right? And you will only get the result for 1 zip code. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, because zip codes are not perfect, perfect squares or perfect blocks, you know. So you have to kind of like geocode it a little bit. You have to use like coordinates almost, and provide it with a radius. So based on the particular zip code, you have to provide coordinates, and then find the center of that zip code, and then do a radius, if that makes sense. Do a radius to just to cover, and the radius could be 5 miles or 6 miles or something like that. So inherently, that's going to be a problem, because you will, if the radius is too big, you will definitely find businesses in other zip codes. So that's what's kind of happening here. I did not go through and try to fix that. For the sake of this presentation, it's fine. I'll do the job. But just know that even though we provided you 1 zip code, we got, you know, we went across other zip codes, if that makes sense. And this is the strategy generation, right? What this is saying is that, hey, for these facilities, find a discharge planning director, case management supervisor, social service director, and care transition coordinator, and try to meet them, you know, email them, follow up by in-person visit, and then blah, 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 blah. And then it gives you like a follow-up plan, and you have the addresses also for the hospitals, right, and handy. And you have the strategy for primary care. You only found 1 facility. Primary care is like, you know, your local doctor, right? And, you know, how you approach in-person visit during lunch hour, bring lunch and learn presentation. Here it could not, other strategy means that there are 2 facilities that it was not able to map. So it kind of used the same way of like doing the strategy. And it gives you like a nice little thing at the end here. So this is it's interesting, but it's not that interesting, honestly. It's just, this could have been done. I would say the only interesting thing is that the Google API is able to give you this, right? You're able to write code to get, you know, the addresses and everything all nice and dandy. But I didn't have to, you know, do all these agents and pulling all together to get this. I actually did that on a Google notebook somewhere else. So I already know how to do this without using agents, right? So then that begs the question, so then what the agents do? What did they do, right? So that's kind of like where we go to step 2. So I'll close this. Sorry, not step 2, step 1. I'm getting too ahead of myself. Now we start using other tools that CrewAI provides. Don't keep in mind, we were still using CrewAI here, but there were some tools we were not using. So now we're gonna start using Crews, but also beefing up our agents. So let's go through. First of all, we'll go through the agent configuration. So CrewAI newest library or newest version, you're able to create your agent through a YAML file, and you can see we have a similar search agent right here, and then you provide the role, the goal, and the backstory. So again, goal: search and identify healthcare facilities in zip codes with high accuracy and completeness. And then you provide a backstory. We have our data extraction agent, our categorization agent, and our strategy agent. So for the strategy agent, you can see you are an accomplished healthcare community networker with 15 years of experience in building referral partnership, building lasting relationship with healthcare facilities, blah, 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 blah. So the goal is to be able to get successfully generating quality referral through relationship building. That's what we want from our networker. So for each agent, you have to provide it a task. So we have a facility search task, which based on a zip code and a facility type will do the search. And then the expected output is a JSON containing this information. Then same thing, we have our data extraction task. Same thing. So this is now we set up our agent, and then we set up the tasks for our agents. Okay. So again, just want to reiterate that we had our agent, and then we set up the tasks for our agents. Now, we need to set up our crew. So this is how you set up a crew. First, we need to pull the configuration that we created, right? So you have your agent config and your task config. Remember that what we're looking right here. Then you define your agents first, right? Your search agent, and then you decorate it with like this decorator. So your search agent, and then you this is the configuration. This is how you access that configuration. So the search agent has access to all the information about itself. And if you remember, now we provided with a tool, the Google Play search tool. So our search agent is looking for, it's going to do the querying, and it's going to use this tool, Google Play search tool. We're going to take a look at it shortly. Same second agent, same thing. Role, goal. There's some variable that I did not add here, but you can still find them. See, this you can actually, sorry, let me step back. You can technically also have it this way, but that's hard-coded, right? So it's not necessarily the best way to do it, but yeah. So that's a miss on my part. I should have used this way. But you still have the data extraction tool passed in, categorization agent, and finally our strategy agent. So when you're done doing getting your agent set up, now you have to set up your tasks. So here's our search facility task, which when you call it, it returns a task, and then the configuration for that task, and which agent is going to be assigned to that task, right? So same thing, we are in like software engineering. You have a task that is provided by your project manager. You have to assign a programmer to do that task. So that's basically the same thing. Ben has made me think about PMs today. Then you have the extract facility data task, the categorization facility task, and the strategy task. So once you have all that, you build your crew this way. So you have to provide your agents, all 4 of them, and your tasks, and the process sequential, for those who remember when we were talking about that earlier. So now we set up our crew. So we have our agent set up, our task set up. Now we have our crew set up. Now let's go take a look at the tools that we have in our hand. So more specifically, the Google Play search tool. Sorry, I forgot to clean up this piece of code right here, but we will go down to here. So this is a way to control the data that's coming to that tool. So For this tool, it needs a text query, a language code, region code, and a page size. That's Google's parameters to use. So this is the tool, right? What does the tool do? Search for healthcare facilities using Google Play API, blah, 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 blah. Then now, for those who, software engineer, now you can see we start getting into like the actual code to call the API. So that's the code to call the API. You have your headers and you have your text query right here. And once you set all that up, you have your request body that you send out to the API. So the API call is right here. So you provide the base URL, which is at the top here. This is the URL, by the way. And remember when I was talking about the radius for the geocoding? So this is the hard-coded radius here, and that's in meters. So it finds the center of that zip code and then does a radius, basically, of 5,000, circle of 5,000, and try to find 5,000 meters, which is 5 kilometers, which is about 3 miles, and try to find places in that vicinity. So then we call the API. Once we get the response back, we parse it, do whatever we need to do with it. And right here, we should return something somewhere. Where are we returning the data? Yeah, we get the data right here. Yeah, sorry, return. Yeah, return it right here. So that's one tool, the Google Extract tool. Then, I'll go quickly on the other tools. Then we have the data extraction tool that gets the data from, which is supposed to get the data from the first tool and then process it, gets it in a nice format, and gives it to you in this nice format. That's what the tool is supposed to do. Eventually, when it does it, it gets the JSON number. You need to have at the end a name, an address, a rating, a type, and the website, which is the URL. That's what you want out of that second tool. Then the third tool, which is the categorization tool, gets the data from the second tool, and now it's going to categorize it by 4 types: type on location, rating, service type, and it does a little bit of statistics, which is like, for example, how many facilities are there in a particular zip code, just some basic statistics. And when that's done, it returns that categorized data. And finally, when that's done, I know I'm skipping through a lot of code, but everybody can read code. But the point that I'm trying to make is, when that's done, then you send the remaining information, the remaining data, to the strategy generation tool now. And what that tool will do is, based on that categorization, based on the information you provided, it'll now call OpenAI, be like, hey, OpenAI, I'm sending you a prompt to generate a marketing strategy for me based on this, based on that, right? So the prompt is essentially provide me a strategy that, for a particular facility type, I as a networker can use to, build a relationship and win referrals. So those are the tools you have, and then obviously at the end, we generate a summary for it. So this summary is just kind of like a structure of it. And yeah. Now, if we go to how do we kick all that off or chain it all together? If you remember the flow, first thing we're gonna do is to initialize that configuration, right? So, I have two zip. Sorry, let me erase this. It's supposed to be one zip code and one nursing home. So we are initializing this configuration. Nursing home is 55118. Then we call the search facility, which listens to this configuration. When it's set, it calls this second function, and then when that second function is done, it returns the results. Sorry, I coded it somewhere here because I was doing some testing, but we'll get to that. So when it gets the results, then this one who is listening to the search facility, when the first one is done, then the second one will be kicked off. And the input data for that is the raw result that came from the first one. Then when that's done, third one, we're going to categorize and finally create the strategy. And these are the input variable. And at the end, we'll save the results. And this is how you kind of like kick it off. So I know I went through this fast, but again, it's the same flow. No pun intended, for as we did for the first one. But here, the processing was done, or the way we set it up was done differently. So you will see now what that means. So first, I need to get out of here, and then I have to go to step 1, sorry. And then make sure I'm in the right one. So I think it's CrewAI flow kickoff. So now we're gonna kick off the flow for this second one and see what happens. All right, so it's running the flow. Okay, so you can see agent, first one. So it got the data back. Now it's going to try to do the second one, the second agent. So so the output, this is now the clean output from that data. So now it's going to do the second one. See, okay. Now it says encountered an error. Okay. Let's see what happens. I hope it's gonna do what it's supposed to do. These crews sometimes, these agents sometimes, like, have a mind of their own. So for those, so currently, right? So it encountered an error. So one thing that would become what that became apparent to me until I went through this is it's actually trying to solve that error. It's trying to actually solve it. So come on. So if you can see like these kind of configuration, so you should always think about what to do. The action to take should be of like, this action. And your final answer must be great or the most. See, so what did it do? So if it tried something, right? So it was able to somehow find a way to solve that problem. I don't know how he did it. I'm not gonna lie, but it found and solved that problem. And now, sorry, I gotta go down. Let's see what it's gonna do. So again, just to keep in mind again, the code, the tool that was provided to the agent actually had some bugs in it. So the code actually did not work. Like, so when I was going through this, my code actually did not work for that data, for the I think it was the categorization tool, if I'm not mistaken. That code did not work. But when I ran it and it did not work, the agent, like, instead of kind of like failing similar to like your typical code. So let's say you have a function and then you call that function and then the function fails. If it just fails and stops, right? The difference here with an agent is that instead of just like copying out and bombing and giving you a stack trace, it actually tries, because it knows what it's supposed to do. You told it, hey, your task is to do this thing, but for this thing, use this task. This tool. But if this tool is not working, it's able to think and say, well, I don't know if it's thinking, but it's able to figure out that, okay, because this tool is not working, let me try something else. And that's what it's doing. So I don't know if you can see some of the difference between what, an agent is like with this, in this context, versus like, like a regular function.
No, definitely I can see it now.
Yeah. That was the epiphany for me as well when I was working with this. I was trying to figure out what is the difference. What is CrewAI's what's the word I'm looking for? Value add, right? Or agents, I guess. Yeah. So it finished, and I mean at the end it kind of bombed, but it finished. So don't worry about this for now. But I just want to show you how it was still able to give you the networking strategy, right? You see it? So I got the information that I wanted. All 4 agents worked together to achieve the goal that I told it to do. Even though you ran into some issues and the code, some of my tools or the tools that I provided did not work. But at the end, I got a networking strategy that OpenAI provided, because you can. So let's go back up and try to see. My apologies if I want to kind of show you what's happening. So kind of like this is kind of like where it starts. So we're saying nursing homes in 55125. So the first tool works. That's no problem. We're able to get the information from Google, so we're good. And somewhere, somehow, the first tool was like, all right, I'm still gonna provide you with like a good output, because in the agent tasks, actually, it says to give it in a nice format with facility, zip code, and provide name, address, rating. So it was able to, even though my tool did not tell it to do it this way, the configuration kind of like, I think, was overrode the tool in a way. So that did it this way. And then the second step right here, this is where it had an issue. So I encountered an error while trying to use the tool. There was an error, blah, 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 right? So here, it's the function that failed. The function actually failed, right? The tool failed. So instead of giving up, it tried again. But this time, see, total input is still that raw JSON that came, and it still was not able to figure out. So now, if I tell you I know what it's doing in the back end, I'm probably lying, but I mean, it's an AI, right? I think it's probably using it's writing code in the back end and maybe how do I say that? Trying to solve it and see whether it matches what the goal of the goal that we give it to, if it matches that. So again, it tried a third time and it still did not work. And then I want to go where it actually worked. Data extraction. Okay, so finally, it tried again. I think the tool a few times didn't work, but finally it was like, you know what, whatever. And then it provided the output like this way. So then when that was done, we had to categorize it again, and same thing. Find that one actually, the tool. It seems the tool worked for that one. So you see the tool output was right here. So that one worked because then that one did not fail. And now the final answer is that. And the third, we have to do now the networking strategy. And so the networking strategy, the tool failed because I think the input to the OpenAI prompt was not clean. So that's why the tool failed, but it still knew what to do. It still knows like what its goal is. So that's why it tried a couple of times, and then final output is somewhere here. Final answer right here. So he tries, I think, a few times, and if he's not able to do it, then he finds another way to do it, and then gives you the strategy. So I don't know if you see, I just want to reiterate again, like the cool part about this, right? It's the ability to, I don't want to use the word think.
To bounce back.
Yeah, to bounce back, right? It's like retry for like, I work in data engineering, right? So sometimes when you're pulling data, you try to retry again, see if it works, right? So it's similar. But here, for in the past, you program that in the code to retry. So you say, hey, n equal 3, retry 3 times, and then loops, and if it fails, try again, fail, try again, right? Here, I didn't tell it how many times to try. It tried. It's probably configured somewhere, but I didn't explicitly give it instructions on what to do. It just did it on its own. Any comments?
It's actually pretty cool because the Mosaic app that we were discussing, I had a similar issue because when you're getting the data back from OpenAI, sometimes because of the token size that you provide, the data is not like provided in the full JSON format. So sometimes they break, and then I had to write a function to clean up the data once I receive it. So technically that's what it's doing here. So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Question though, speed. How do you address the speed issue? Because it was slower relatively to your to the function that you were using. Much slower. How do you increase the speed?
I think it's slower because it's doing a lot of probably a lot of things in the background. So probably using a lot of OpenAI calls, because you do provide it, like in the configuration, you have to provide it actually your OpenAI key. So there's one thing that probably I did not mention, but yeah, you have to provide it with your OpenAI key, because 100% it's probably using, Ben, what was the some functionality that OpenAI has that it can actually write a function to solve a particular problem? I forgot the name of it.
I think it's called something. I forgot.
Yeah,
code execution, or I forgot the term, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's doing that. So basically, it's probably writing function on the fly and then testing it out and seeing if it's able to solve it. So that's probably why it's slow. Yeah.
But how do you increase the speed? Is there anything parameter wise that you can provide that will make it go faster?
I think we'll probably have to go back to the CrewAI website. I do think that there's probably some ways to configure how your CrewAI behaves, in terms of, maybe the number of retries or, things like that. Because again, it tried out 3 times, I think 3 or 4 times. So I think that way maybe can, right? This thought action input result can repeat n times. So I think that is configurable. I just haven't dug through that. Yeah.
Yeah, but also, in my opinion, the main bottleneck is most likely the provider itself. So because it's not like the CrewAI or the Python code is doing some CPU intensive tasks. Most of the time might be spent retrieving data from the LLM, like via the API.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the bottleneck is really the provider
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Yeah. So that's that for step 1. I've been getting this error. I don't know what this is, but I'm not worried. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. But in any case, I got the result that I wanted. The step 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I see the tasks file?
Yeah.
The yellow. Thank you.
Yeah. So for the next one, so what I did for step 2, I wanted to see, okay, what if the code doesn't bomb, right? What if the code doesn't bomb? What is it actually going to do, right? I mean, we kind of have an idea, but I kind of modified the code a little bit. So where I have it, I want to see the crew. So I'm skipping. Sorry, I'm in the wrong one. Not step 1, step 2. So I'm skipping the categorization agent. Okay. So I commented that out, and I kind of simplified the strategy agent as well. So I didn't have time to go debug all the issues that I was having, but for the sake of the presentation, I kind of like simplified things. So if we go back and look at the tools, especially for the strategy agent, now it's just doing a simple prompt where it's saying, create a detailed networking strategy for a facility type. So I'm just now passing the facility type because when I was doing it, it was easier for me to pass that data because I ran into some issues where I couldn't figure out how to pass data between the agents, right? So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to simplify it, and then I want to see what happens when there's no issues with my tools, basically. So that's the only 2 changes I really made. Everything else is the same. And then I kind of kick it off. Yeah. So let's now try this. So,
I have a quick question. So when data is being passed from one agent to the other, is there a way to pass structured data, or is it just text only?
structured data or text only? Like, what do you mean?
So structured data would be like, let's say it retrieves information about, I don't know, addresses, phone numbers, and stuff. Instead of just being a text like with the details, it could be like a JSON map.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. You can pass any sort of like you just have to like how do I say that? The second function just has to know what to expect, if that makes sense. Yeah, you can.
Okay, so there's a way to force one of the agents to, to return it, to pass some structured data to the next agent for processing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. That's the part that I kind of struggle with a little bit because was trying to figure out the way my I was getting the data. Sometimes the next agent was not expecting it for a specific in a particular way, so I struggled a little bit with that. But then because I wanted to get this done, I simplified it a little bit. So now we're going to step 2. Let's see, make sure. So we'll run it again. I'm in the right. I want to make sure I'm in the right folder. Actually, sorry, 1 second. I want to make sure it's something. Sorry about the naming. It was me copying and pasting. It created like some subfolder. So sorry about that, but it's still step. We're still in step 2. We're not in step 1. FYI, it's just a folder. It's me doing.
We're programmers. We know what a list starts with 0. So
All right. So let's see here. What's gonna happen? Okay, so tool output, nothing. So let's see if it's an issue with the tool or if it's just something that happened. We'll see. Yeah, so maybe I did something lately that not broke something somewhere, but it's fine. I think it'll still go through.
So right now, you remind me of the PM hoping that the dev team gets it done in time.
Exactly. So yeah, it's able to do that. Now we get this strategy. Yeah. And this strategy is actually pretty good, to be honest. Like I mean, I'll probably use some of this. Yeah. So this is the error that I kept getting. I couldn't figure out how to solve it. So don't worry about this for now. But at least we're able to get the information. So yeah. Also, see the input facility type senior living. So I pass that in, and then the prompt basically does the prompt, and OpenAI gives you this answer. So yeah, that was really it. That's what I wanted to kind of showcase. And again, it was more along the lines of like when I was going into this, I was trying to figure out CrewAI, like what actually are agents, right? That was the main thing. And I dropped a video in Discord from IBM that kind of goes through like a definition of an agent, which is pretty good as well. So that's why I shared it. So that helps you think about what agents can do, how you can put them in certain in your pipeline, your workflows, and how it can help you. That's it. So we solved a business problem. I can take this, copy that, and put it in a PDF, and then study that. That's it.
thank you.
Right, this is very impressive. I've seen those implementations of AI in the business world and stuff, but I believe, from my personal perspective, that this is something that can have a direct impact on business. This is really, really powerful.
Yeah. I definitely, like I said, I would definitely use it because that's a problem I had, So I was like, all right, how can I use a problem I have and try to like solve it with like agents? And yeah, I would use this like next week. So
you see, I was about to hire a team to do some data entry just tomorrow. We're supposed to start on Monday.
no,
Now, considering everything.
You just made people lose money.
Oh no! Did I just fire?
This is
Don't
interesting.
fire nobody. Yeah, you don't have to fire nobody. You have to hire them.
I will call you right after the meeting so we can talk.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I mean, yeah, it's neat. I think that, again, it's it's gaining popularity. I know, Ben, I don't know what your thought is on CrewAI, but it's gaining popularity for sure these days. I think OpenAI themselves have another one called, they're working on one. I think it's called Swarm. I was actually gonna look into that as well, but I just didn't have time. It's similar. It does similar things. So actually, OpenAI could put CrewAI out of business if they do something like that. So yeah. Oh, one thing that I wanted to show, and real quick here before we finish, is you're able to actually create a call it, a flow diagram. So if I can open this, I want to open it. Oh, how do I open this in the browser? Oh, hold on. Actually, yeah. Why was I thinking? Wait 1 second.
Oh, but just you want to open that HTML file? Just go to the same folder and use Python.
Yeah, that's right here. So you actually can do it. It provides you with like something like this.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like, for those who have worked with Airflow or Composer before, it reminds me of Composer or Airflow. Yeah. So
Wait, this is generated automatically?
no, they have a simple command for it. It's
Oh yeah.
yeah. It's
You can type a comment and just get that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. It goes, I believe it just goes through your flow and it knows how to build this based on the flow. Again, you can build complex flows. For example, like if these two were parallel, obviously would come to this and then it would branch out, right? Parallel, and maybe both come down to like the strategy, it probably just kind of looks at the decorators and figure out, oh, it's just a straight up flow.
Yeah. Actually, I have now that we see how the flow is structured, right? So going back to Afiz's question, another explanation of why it might be slow is because it's all the way through, it's sequential. You know what I mean? So in PM terms, this is like just the critical path. So it can only go as fast as any team or agent in the path, right? So added to that, if each agent has to interact with the LLM, which is remote, that is also slow. It slows down the whole process. So to speed things up, maybe as the PM or orchestrator, you might want to revisit the way you manage the different crews, so that they can do some of that work in parallel to shorten that critical path a little bit.
Yep.
So
that makes sense. Yeah, because like categorization could be done in parallel with data extraction.
Yeah. Well, it depends on if the input for categorization is from, unless categorization can go grab it from this the first one, the search facilities, if that makes sense, then yeah. So it all depends on like what the input is and in the output, how you manage that. And then yes, you're right, you could do categorization by just going and pulling it from search facility right away. Yeah, that's it.
yeah. Also, Aziz, maybe can you show how you generated the graph and the command?
Oh yeah. Give me a minute. I don't remember the command. I gotta find it. Give me 1 second. It's right here. I'm on their website. I'll find it. It's like, yeah, here it is. Actually,
Yeah, also, if you can increase the font just a little bit.
what's that?
If you can increase the font.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, here, this is right here. So this piece of code here, you can create it for, or you can use this one, Crew flow plot. But that means that you've downloaded the CLI, like CrewAI CLI. Yeah. I would highly. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's really cool.
Yeah. I would highly recommend, if you wanna, you should try it, even if it's their own code, and just kind of see how it works. It's really it makes it a lot more tangible in understanding, because I knew what it was, but I just didn't understand much until I actually did it. I was like, oh, okay, that's how this thing works. This is what it's doing. Okay. So it goes back to, I don't know if anybody else saw what we posted in Discord yesterday. Learning comes from actually making mistakes in terms of your code. You know, when your code bombs, it's actually when you learn. You have to figure out why it actually bombed. So yeah, that's it. Thank you all for coming. I hope this was interesting. But yeah, appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks to you.
Really appreciate that. Thanks to you. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no.
From a software development perspective, it's interesting to see how AI integrates with coding. Those of you who are in software development on the data side of things.
Fuzzy, we have a hard time hearing you, Fuzzy. It's not very clear. We have a hard time hearing you, Fuzzy.
Okay. I think maybe because I'm using my headset.
Yeah.
Let me drop it real quick.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Yeah, I said
Much
thank
better.
you. Thank you for making this come alive. It's interesting to see how AI is improving the software development process. For those of you who are from the coding background, who are more into software development, my question is, how much time will this CrewAI save in terms, okay, if you were to code everything, you know, from a coding perspective, like how many line of code does this agent save you from? I'm looking at in terms of effort, in terms of time, how does this play out? Okay, from an efficiency perspective, looking at time, energy, and coding effort. Because if you were to write everything in code versus using this agent, so this agent kind of simplify the coding process, because you pretty much leverage it and you write specific tasks and it's able to perform that for you. But if you were to develop code, how much line of code approximately will it take for you to implement this entire business logic? I'm just trying to see how the value add in terms of software development.
Yeah. That's a good question.
So, go ahead. I want to take a stab at it, but
you go ahead. Go ahead, Hafiz. Yeah, you have a software development background, so you go for it. Go ahead.
So, I'm going to talk particularly to the error that Abdel was getting, Aziz were getting, right? Which is the data issue. So the data was retrieved from, let's say, Google, right?
Yes.
And then it was retrieved in a format that the AI did not understand. And then he tried to like fix it. with the Mosaic app that I was building, I was getting a similar issue. But what I had to do, I had to actually retrieve the data, now get the error code, and then figure out exactly what was breaking. And
Okay.
it wasn't just one thing that was breaking, right? Sometimes just because of the amount of token that you use, the data will get cut off. Sometimes if you notice, when Aziz was showing the data, you have all these backslashes because the data is already structured by OpenAI before we turn to the app, right? And then the app doesn't understand it. So you have layers of issues that you have to fix. So it's not really the amount of code that you're writing, but it's the amount of effort that you're gonna spend fixing each one of them. So
Oh, I
because
see.
of that, this case is actually pretty useful because you don't have to worry about any of that, right? Like you don't have to worry about bugs because you will think that CrewAI will fix them for you.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. I think my question has been answered. Thank you.
Yeah. And I mean, when I was working on this, for sure, I think I understood. I think I'm gonna say that maybe the fifth time. I think I understood what Asians did when one of the tools did not do what it was supposed to do. Again, was it because of the data issue? And that's when I realized, the tool took over, not the tool, the agent took over and actually solved that problem. So I think in the long run, where agents might be really good at is those kind of situations, right? Like things that we maybe have not coded for, right? Like errors that we have not thought about. That because as an engineer, right, like a senior engineer, you have to think about all the possibility of like your application breaking and coding for those issues, right? But then, you know, in the future, then you might be able to write your application, have maybe, and this is me guessing, have like a solid logic, but not have to worry too much maybe about if something bombs, that the whole application will go down, where the agent might be able to recover and still accomplish what it's supposed to accomplish, So that's kind of like my take on that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it there's a level of resiliency or fault tolerance that it adds to your software. Okay.
Yep. Mr. Ben, do you have anything, or are you good?
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah. So, Fosi, I think you said something very, very interesting. Like that the software. I mean, when software can achieve some sort of some high level of resiliency, it allows the team to quickly change directions when things become more clear on what to do, or even making improvements to existing systems, right?
Okay.
So the in terms of software development, and the demo that Aziz gave us, I think this is a good way to quickly iterate over ideas, or to figure out exactly what needs to be built, right? Because at least when we talk about business software, usually it has nothing to do with new inventions, right? It's business software is like the terms of code that's required for business software is in an area where pretty much everything has been discovered, if I can say that. And it's really a matter of understanding what the problem is and what should be built. So that's where the time is spent. So yeah, so if we can iterate quickly over ideas using such a tool, that would be beneficial.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments? All right. Well, appreciate your time today. We'll post the next talk in 2 weeks, which I think falls on the 16th. And hope to see you there. thank you again for your time. Have a good Saturday or weekend.
I think
Yeah, thank you too for the knowledge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Thank you much.
Thanks to you guys.
All right, bye.
Thanks again. Thanks again.
thank
Yeah.
you.